Caution, the video you are about to watch contains the answer to a riddle, and even if you don't care to solve it yourself, this will not be as satisfying if you haven't watched the first video. You're not the kind of person who picks up a mystery novel and just flips to the last page, are you? Seriously, just go watch the other video. I'll wait. Okay, good? Good. Hey guys, it's WillBits, and the mystery of the artifact languages has been solved! I'm really kicking myself here because I was honestly so close to figuring this out on my own, but a ton of this credit here goes to Alan McBee. He's the one who filled in the last couple of gaps that I was missing. Seriously, I think collectively we all just started overthinking it. And most of the reactions I've seen in the comments, both here and on the subreddit, are pretty underwhelmed because... okay, remember David X. Cohen's comment from the last video?
For you game players out there who are also math nerds, the game actually has an incredibly hard alien language thing in it that's not even part of the game, really. It's just a side puzzle for you if you want to devote an extra month to playing it. And there will be a very serious language challenge for you guys.
He thought this was going to take us a month to figure out. And granted, the game's been out for almost a couple weeks, but mostly people just didn't notice this puzzle was there. The instant I made a video just pointing this puzzle out to the rest of the general public, everybody else had it figured out in like an hour. Like, the rest of the pieces just kind of fell in. Did he seriously tell an anecdote about underestimating Futurama's fan base, only to immediately, in the next breath, underestimate us again? Unless he just meant this would take a month, because that's how long it would take for us to get through the game's story quests and get all the artifacts to be revealed, because, okay, here's where things get interesting. So Alan mentioned that his big clue was me pointing out the palindromes on the altar, something I'd fixed on for quite a while as well, were clearly a big hint that the letters on the artifacts should potentially be read backwards rather than forwards. So I personally tried this out, and when you translate Artifact 7's text in reverse, you get the word Atula, A-T-U-L-A. I recognize this as most likely part of a word, but my head went to thinking about spatula, and I thought, well, that doesn't make sense. But let's roll with this. We'll just keep pushing through. The sixth artifact by itself makes the word Ryons, which also isn't a word, but could be part of one. Anyway, I translated the rest, and it felt really close, but it still didn't really make sense until, you put them all together, because translating them in a chain means the first letter has to keep following the numerical cipher rules, so that ends up changing a lot of the letters when you're working in 3-letter pairs. I feel stupid for not trying it myself earlier, but here, let's see what we get. Put them all up, and we have... Atulations to you OCD sufferers. Okay. Setting aside that this may be the most underwhelming code translation in the history of ciphers, it was an Ovaltine caliber joke, and yes, I'm a little annoyed, but this is clearly supposed to read, congratulations. But for whatever reason, we're missing the first 5 letters? 5. Could there be an 8th artifact? But there's only 7. The game explicitly states that there are 7 artifacts, and that when we get all 7 of these together, the problem's supposed to go away. So what gives? Why is this chunk of the code that would go right here missing? The short answer is that we have no idea, and any long diatribes about it can be nothing but wild, baseless speculation. So with your indulgence, let's speculate! There are a lot of theories floating around about how these artifacts would potentially fit together. I kind of started to peer down a pretty scary rabbit hole there for a bit, with one commentator, LSuave32, who had a really interesting idea about the seemingly throwaway joke in the intro animation about how the problems we're fixing were caused by being in a perpendicular universe.
A female hypnotoad from a perpendicular universe!
This theory fit in a little too nicely with the fact that the text on the gold rings around the artifacts alternate between being horizontal and vertical. And so if you stack them, they would alternate being actually perpendicular with each other. But it turns out that was nothing except maybe a funny visual nod to the math plot. I tried a few different combinations, and it certainly wasn't the answer to the translation, at least. So the much more interesting theory that a lot of people have latched onto is that while these artifacts may at first look like generic sci-fi MacGuffin objects, the more of them you collect and start putting next to each other, the more they start to resemble a biology textbook. Specifically, they're diagrams of organelles, the tiny miniature organs that make up the anatomy of a living cell, especially in an animal. So Artifact 1 here looks like Saturn, but that's because when we first get it, we're focused on the big, obvious ring around the sphere. But once we ignore the rings, as they're just the nacho chip, to deliver us the tasty language puzzle salsa, we realize that this actually looks like a cutaway diagram of a cell's nucleus. Artifact 2 here is DNA or RNA or some kind of nucleic acid found in the cells. 4 and 5 look like the Golgi apparatus and the rough endoplasmic reticulum. 6 looks a lot like a centriole. These are all of these are parts of a single cell. What are we building? Who are we building? Okay, no. Probably not him. But we do spend an awful lot of time in-game fighting Paramecian people as our generic bad guy flunkies right now. They didn't actually show up in the show that much. Probably the most notable appearance was Gladys Lennox, the beauty pageant contestant from Vega 4.
There it is, Miss Universe.
Are we making one of these guys? Why are we building a single gigantic cell? And what is it going to do when it gets here? And is it going to have this code on it? Which translated backwards would give us CONGR, the missing letters from our secret code to make congratulations. Also, Baku Ryu went digging through the Android files and found this alternate image of the altar, which has an entirely different set of runes that don't make sense when you translate them via either set of rules we've discovered so far. But this appears to be placeholder art. It's totally inaccessible in-game, so for the sake of brevity and my personal sanity, we're going to ignore it entirely for now. But if you guys have any ideas, here it is. Go nuts. So that's it for now. Congratulations to you, OCD sufferers. Was this mystery a huge letdown for you guys? Was the quest for it sufficiently funny, at least? Or is there something else here? Deeper and darker that I'm still overlooking? Sound off in the comments, but until next time, yo mom, NYC Doom!